SC dealing with the new maps. What are going to happen on the new maps as these two face each other for the first time in 4 months? Last time, season finals of summer, Scarlett was able to take the best of 3. Let's see if it happens again here. Starting off on Berlingrad. In the bottom right for a Freak of Freaks, he is Trap.
And that, of course, means that in the top left side of Berlingrad, we're looking at the main base of our Canadian Zerg, representing the Shopify Rebellion. This is Scarlett. It'd be pretty dope if Scarlett wins his best of 3, I'm not gonna lie. Coming into today, I did not expect that. I always have hopes for Scarlett making it into the playoffs, and she's done it before through some very difficult groups in the past. That group with Lambo and Trap, of course. And then she should have won that quarterfinals, but we're not gonna talk about that anymore. I did not really think that this was a possibility going up against Cure in the opening round, the man who just won the GSL Codas. It'd be really cool.
Yeah, and who she had actually beaten before, as you pointed out on the desk. This is a really strong start for Scarlett, stronger even than perhaps the opening of the summer season finals. So she got second, actually. She still made out of the group, but it was second. She did lose to Dream, I believe. So it does feel like, even though her records against both Trap and Cure aren't the best, it feels like if there is going to be more of a hiccup, it's going to be with those Korean Terrans. But she's actually got that out of the way. Now she's facing Trap, who I don't know if she ever feels any comfortable. Does anyone feel comfortable in this matchup right now? But me personally, outside perspective, this is where I was most hopeful for Scarlett. I did talk to her a little bit in the lobby, and we mostly just memed, honestly. She was like, Trap's scary, and Void Rays were mentioned.
I didn't really see what you were doing, but you seriously look like a boomer there, Zombie Grub. You were looking for emojis, you were going through...
I was looking for the perfect emoji.
Yeah, you took you a little while. I was like, I don't know what's happening over here, but...
You know what I realized? There really isn't like a happy Zerg. There's a love Zerg, but there's no happy Zerg. So I was like, coffee time it is. And then there's no Void Ray emote, because clearly they haven't updated their emotes in a long time, but there is an Oracle GG, and I said, pretend this is a Void Ray.
But that doesn't look too good then if you have to GG against Void Ray.
No. But as I said, it was mostly memeing. Ooh. But I think Scarlett has been doing a lot of duet like practice time for the season finals. She had maybe Beyond helping her out as a teammate, and then I think 100% has Lambo helping her out as a teammate, and just kind of the foreigners against the Korean old narrative here.
Look at Trap. He is not going to kick things off with a Stargate here. He's going to open up with the Twilight Council. Now, there are many ways to play this, but in the past, when Trap does this, most of the time it's just a couple of Resonating Glaives and then go up to 3 bases in a very greedy manner. Now, that can be good unless you get Queen Walked in certain ways, especially the early ones of relatively low drone counts. They hit so hard, and as a Protoss, you just don't really have a whole lot that's good. As Trap is sending one of his probes to the other side of the map. Scarlett did seal this immediately. That obviously gives him another opportunity to potentially attack with those Adepts and Resonating Glaives.
Yeah, absolutely. Another pathway open for the Adepts to shade through while other Adepts are being warped in or shading elsewhere. It's just more pathways. So Scarlett's going to be figuring this out soon enough. She, understandably, is like Adepts, Disruptors, or Void Rays. And some of those games that Trap's been playing, versus Serral, actually, quite a few of them were Adept openers, and a couple were into Disruptors. So it might not be necessarily about the defense of the Adepts, which I think Scarlett is already building up to, but then is it a good enough defense, of course? Do they slip in and get more drones than they should? But also that follow-up, which has been quite feisty from Trap.
Yep. It's kind of funny, because sometimes as a Protoss, you can see some good shades, but you know that if you shade in, okay, I'm going to get 10 plus drones, but that also means my attack is over. And if the attack just ends there immediately, it becomes very easy for the Zerg to potentially rally everything that they have to the other side of the map. Scarlett is obviously not teched up yet, so maybe a Dark Shrine defensively could be good. But Trap is actually going for a very quick Robo-Bay follow-up. And I'm getting some Max Packs vibes over here, as he is very fond of opening up with Resonating Glaive Adepts. And then he follows it up with a Speed Prism and 2 Disruptors just to harass a little bit. And then eventually hits you with a very strong 3-base attack with maybe 1 or 2 Colossus, those 2 Disruptors, etc.
Yeah, super fun way to play. And when you do have that momentum already gained even a little bit by the Adepts, then you gain a little bit more with the Disruptors. That final push can be quite difficult to hold against, but yeah, is momentum going to be gained by these Adepts? They do shade into the main base where there is nothing waiting, so the drones have to be pulled away. But Lings are hot on the heels of the Adepts, going to clean up. Oh, don't cross about your own drones.
Smart.
Yeah, didn't actually shade the Bamboozle. A couple more drones do go down because of it.
And this is a lot of lost mining time already. The lair's going to be a little bit later. That speed upgrade is already on the way. First Disruptor on the way. Natural is kind of wide open. The Adepts will shade in. And the War Prism is still here to pick up these Adepts. This is some mighty fine play by Trap so far.
So annoying for Scarlett to deal with. So annoying. 7 drones. Maybe that is not the worst of it, but just the fact that so many Adepts have escaped and continue to get harassment done. She just wants to be like, come on, get it over with. Like, just be done already. But 11 drones now, 12. The numbers keep adding up here. Scarlett was supposed to be done with this defense 7 drones ago, 8 drones ago, and 15 is going to be the final number as the War Prism goes home.
Yep. The only upside here for Scarlett is that obviously Trap is still just on 2 bases. And Trap is going to have to make a choice, right? Does he want to go up to 3 bases? Or are we just staying on 2? Because he's still only at 44 probes. I have to admit, I'm not super fond of 2-base all-ins in general. We know we had Zaun for a while. He had his cool little 2-base thing. That worked for a little bit until Sarah kind of gave all the Protoses out there the blueprint on how to deal with it. And that build fell out of fashion real quick. Well, yeah, we'll see what Trap decides to do. He's still just not building any additional probes.
Oh, very dedicated to 2-base. There's a couple additional ones, so perhaps a 3rd base as he moves out into the future, but right now it's about that disruptor harassment, which actually is not going to interrupt Scarlett too much yet. Queens were actually very well placed for that. Lings are actually looking around for the 3rd base, so Trap has to be careful about slapping it down too eagerly. Grabs a queen with the disruptors, and yeah, there's that 3rd base denied ever just slightly, so more. Then the Lings have to escape, yeah.
I gotta say, like, the Adepts obviously were very successful for Trap, but I think in the last minute and a half, it's been a little bit underwhelming for him. That Speed Prism has been out for a while. We fired the Novas once. We killed a single Queen. That's not really all that good. So this attack becomes a lot more important than perhaps it already was. It is obviously going to be a very powerful one. We've got a couple of force fields to work with, and the Stalkers do have Blink. If a single Nova connects in a decent manner here, I think it's going to be all over immediately, but this is kind of it. Trap needs to find a lot of success with this attack, and one Disruptor has already gone down without connecting with a single unit.
Yeah, the second one is only going to find nothing, actually. Great split from Scarlett there, who doesn't need as big of a concave, but still has a decent one against the Colossus, now going to overwhelm the Protoss force. Trap did not slap down that 3rd Nexus. I mean, the probe got killed, but then also dedicated to a lot of warpins and have the minerals. Now doing it once he's been pushed back. Yeah, Trap has to buy some time, find some type of success here. Killing a handful of drones, is that really enough success? I mean, it's actually pretty decent. 4 Adepts, 9 drones go down, and Trap does escape with his Colossus. He canceled Blink, didn't he, during the push? Yeah, he restarts it.
So Blink wasn't even done. But look at the army supplies. It's an absolute disaster. 112 supply, pure Roach Ravager. And if we still have the 2 Disruptors here, maybe it's not all that bad, because obviously that has a lot of potential off creep. But this game is really turning into a straight-up disaster for Trap, as he just did not find any damage after his opening whatsoever. And I gotta say, he really carelessly lost those first 2 Disruptors.
Yeah, that wasn't the best. It was not the really fearsome push that we were predicting, that did have a little bit already going for with the Adept opener, but then it really fell flat. And now it just looks like Scarlett's going to push in and win. The only thing that's really stopping her from just bulldozing Trap are the Disruptors, or singular Disruptor, in fact, which gets a pretty juicy shot, but probably is not going to be enough. The Colossus comes back to try and help out, but it's going to have quite the task. There's a second Disruptor, actually, not going to get the shot. And even then, had it gotten the shot, it still might not have been enough. Trap is just so far down in supply, rubbing his head here, and there's the GG. Scarlett, with a bit of dominance there towards the end for certain, takes game 1.
120 army supply against 40. Literally 3 times the size. You just don't see that very often. I think the push had a lot more potential. I think initially maybe the Speed Prism and the 2 Disruptors, I think they should have already been able to do a little bit more than fire 1 time, kill 1 Queen. But I guess kudos to Scarlett having her units in the right position, making it seem like no openings are available. But the actual push, I think the execution was a bit underwhelming by Trap. Like, I feel like you can do that a whole lot better.
Yes, but I also will say that Scarlett had clearly mentally prepared for the follow-up, right? The Adepts were mishandled, as can happen with any of the, even the most well-prepared Zergs. But then the follow-up, it seemed like she knew exactly what was going to happen. Her Queens were in position to push away the first potential Warp Prism shot, so it only made it 1 Warp Prism opportunity. And then the concave was absolutely beautiful on Berlingrad to deal with the disruptor. She made sure not to just come down from her natural, which was the choke, and her kind of her third. No, she took the whole right side as well. So it really put Trap into this difficult position where he says, well, maybe I pull back and hope she does clump up, or maybe I try and desperately grab that choke shot, which didn't work out. He instead lost the disruptor.
Yeah, it's always a two-way dance. One player does something amazing, the other player kind of messes up there. I think there should have definitely been more potential in that attack. You're not supposed to lose two disruptors like that. Even if one disruptor shot looks good, but then you realize that too many roaches are too close enough, you can always cancel the shot and just pick it up.
Yeah.
Because keeping the unit alive is a lot more important than hoping you connect with a couple of roaches. Very well done by Scarlett, but also overall the two-base push, it's something that could work, but it also feels in general a little bit unnecessary. Like, do we really have to two-base all in as a Protoss in this matchup? I mean, sure, Brood Lords and Spore Crawlers way down the line are scary, but it was going to take a lifetime before we ever even got there. And I think he would have been able to get a much stronger push going of just 3 bases.
Yeah, perhaps. Yeah, just actually get the third base down and then do a push a bit later. But then I can also see how maybe even encouraged Trap was with his own adept harassment, right? If you actually start feeling it as a player and you're like, I think it can really do this, I think it can really work, I can continue keeping her on her back foot, then I could actually see a bit of over-enthusiasm, I guess, too much of it, actually coming through for the two-base push.
If you paused the game there before we hopped over to this screen, I felt like that was a perfect moment for Trap to just plant his Nexus down, and then you can always only half saturate it, and then you can still make a push a bit later, and that makes it a lot harder for Scarlett to figure out, does he want to be aggressive, does he just want to defend? And if you go too aggressive but Blink finishes up, every Zerg will tell you how difficult it is to push into Stalkers with Blink and a couple of shield batteries, maybe a cannon or two off creep. It's almost not doable. It just felt that Trap had the choice, and he's like, no, I'm gonna go with the two-base attack, and then the execution wasn't really there.
Right, yes. So a couple of things, execution wasn't there. Maybe it really wasn't the best strategy, but I could absolutely see how it would have been a 1-2 punch, especially on a bit of the shorter map that is Berlingrad. So I absolutely don't hate the build, but it looked like Scarlett was very, very well prepared for it as well. So everything mixed together to make it very one-sided towards the end. And now we head into Curious Minds. Berlingrad had a couple of chokes that I could see Trap abusing with those disruptors. As I said, it was on Scarlett to really make it about the biggest concave possible. Well, Curious Minds is all about those surrounds. So we head into game 2, and now we find in the bottom right, the man now down a game for a Freak of Freaks. He's Trap.
And in the top left side, we're looking at the main base of a Canadian Zerg. Took out Cure earlier in this group. Now 1-0 up here in the upper bracket match. A win will send her into the quarterfinals of the DreamHack StarCraft 2 season finals of winter. This is Scarlett.
And not to make it super, super dramatic, but it does kind of feel like Trap needs to win this.
Yeah,
like,
I'm with you.
yeah, like the decider was maybe supposed to be against Scarlett, and that was always going to be tough too. But I did assume that Trap is going to be in the decider because I assumed he was going to lose to Cure, who was going to be in the winner's match. But now it's his potentially last match where he's already been a little disappointed in himself for losing the upper, and I don't know. You got to put the money on Cure considering their very recent history.
Yep. It's going to be pretty dicey. And then obviously Trap will start thinking back of all the times where he either made it to the finals or he lost in the group stage. That already happened twice. 3 times grand finals, which is really good, of course, second place overall. But 2 times Trap did get eliminated in the group. As Trap is one of the 3 players that has been part of each and every single season final so far. The other 2 being Clem and Special.
Yeah, Scarlett was really close. She's made it a 5 out of 6, but got knocked out once by Estrella. So almost flawless, but she's had certainly some successes. This is definitely feeling more like DreamHack Summer of this year, where again, she took second in the group and then moved on, almost got into the semis, but now she's doing even better. But we're getting a little ahead of ourselves. Trap chooses a build, obviously has a very, straight line of thinking, like I'll do this and then this and then this, and she'll be so just on the back foot that I'm gonna win on a shorter map. Didn't work out at all like that. And then you move on to the next game, which, Curious Minds, you think we're going to see, what do you expect we're going to see? Stargate again?
Yeah, I actually do think that Trap is going to go Stargate, because he technically had a great start with the Adepts, and then he still wasn't able to really get where he wanted to be in the game. Well, there's the Twilight Council. Maybe Trap will just look at it. It definitely wasn't the Adepts that made me lose. It's the follow-up that made me lose. But I highly doubt that he's going to do the exact same build. The start could be similar, but the follow-up, no way.
Yeah, exactly. I actually would have been totally on board the idea of Stargate. That's Twilight Council and the second Stargate abilities used very recently. But I know 2 times in a row right out into the Twilight Council. But I mean, it's been effective in the past. He has gotten quite a few victories. It's not something that he can't depend on, especially if he does have an alternative follow-up in mind. He could do the Immortal Adept push afterwards, or actually, go into Stargates later on. But Scarlett's task now with trying to figure this one out.
It could just be that Trap is a little bit intimidated by some of these foreign Zergs and their ability to walk Queens to the other side of the map as well if he wants to play double Stargate Void Ray. Where he's like, alright, in Korea I face something similar every now and then. Very quick Dark Shrine this time around. Maybe Trap hoping that Scarlett gets ultra aggressive early on without a lair. Then obviously the Dark Shrines can come in handy. But it could of course just be a good old traditional. We can try to get lucky with the DTs. If my opponent has detection, I'll just go for an Archon drop.
Yeah, bit of a throwback build at this point. Bit of. It does occasionally emerge again, but I think more often, we're seeing Dark Shrines either as a follow-up of a Dex build, hoping the Spore Crawlers aren't placed correctly or even at all. Or maybe the defensive Dark Shrine, if you think they're going to come across the map. We've seen that a lot, but the good old-fashioned Archon drop, that's a bit of flipping back the pages in the history book. So it provides aggression, it provides scouting. It actually can follow up with a 2-base attack of its own. That's really far back at this point, but it sounds like a great build. Once the Zergs figured it out and once it became 90% of PVZs, it was really figured out. Bringing it back. Maybe Scarlett's going to be caught off guard by this. She's obviously going to be thinking Adepts a bit first and foremost. DTs after, but Spore Crawlers could still be alone, undefended. See how Trap uses this.
Yep, double Spore Crawler is going down. Dark Shrine is almost ready. That Overlord could potentially get a sneak peek on what Trap is warping in here. And that'd be very big. Can we take a look at the vision of Scarlett real quick? I think Scarlett should have been able to see that. Where are the Spore Crawlers? Is it like natural and the third, or...?
So yeah, the third base and the natural. I think the main base is now getting it when she saw the shimmer. So that was pretty well done. The Spore Crawlers are clearly protected. These DTs are not going to do damage as DTs. Join up with a buddy, become Archons, and try and start harassment. But that's Scarlett now knowing what the build is and saying, well, I didn't take any damage to the surprise factor, so now I know exactly how to play the rest of this out.
And we see 10 extra drones already on the way. Trap is going to fire up Blink once more. This time I do not expect him to cancel it. Blink is very good, especially defensively. In the old days, it was all about the aggressive Blink Stalkers and a couple sentries. That's not really a thing anymore. You can, of course, just be annoying with them. Scarlett goes double Evolution Chamber, by the way. That's not something you see super often.
No, not in this matchup, but maybe adding in a bit of extra greed, knowing that this build isn't going to... Well, at least there's not a 2-base all-in follow-up, so with the third base, this isn't going to be a very punchy build. It is still all about harassment, and in this case, very undedicated harassment, not even going for 1 Archon, much less 2. Still trying to use the DTs as DTs. Can be, like, too clever for its own good because, it's less dependable, and that DT dies for only 4 drones.
Yeah, I didn't mind the one in the main. I thought that was kind of cute. Just dropping it, keeping the prism nearby, being able to save it. This one in the third base, a little bit adventurous. If you can grab like 4 or 5 drones, then it's absolutely a good investment. And like this is I wouldn't send it to the low ground. Whoa, we're eating a lot of shots on that prism. It is live, but it did take some hull damage.
So she got 2 evolution chambers and this did the normal Zerg thing anyway.
Yeah.
Okay. I was actually going to look and see if there's maybe a wall. Oh, she adds on +1 melee. All right, so good old double attack upgrades. I feel like it's been a while, but that's going to make her Ling Baneling Ravager army. Oh, very impactful, and eventually might also get +2 melee. We know that works with the Banelings versus the Probes. As we head into the mid-game here, Trap's been allowed to go into his 3 bases, get his gateways, get Blink, but he does not have any upgrades quite yet. That Forge, only 60% done.
A little bit surprised that Scarlett was easily able to get her 4th base up as well. With that War Prism flying around, a couple of DTs, they should have been able to deny this, I feel like, a little bit longer. Just be annoying at least. Pick up the first drone, force your opponent to bring over a Spore Crawler or an Overseer, but Scarlett was just able to plant that down without any worries whatsoever.
That's the biggest miss, I think, for Trap. It's one thing to try with DTs or Archons and say, okay, I didn't quite grab the Queen, I didn't quite grab the drones, I didn't catch that 1 creep tumor, but then I feel like you are kind of supposed to get that 4th drone at least once.
Yeah.
But no, Scarlett got it instantly, easy peasy, and is well on her way to building up a maxed out army, whereas Trap, I mean, he's also doing his thing, but it just feels like with the opener not really going swimmingly at all, Trap is the one that's going to be in fear of being super overwhelmed, so trying to play maybe a little bit in the mid portion, catch the attack before it really gets situated, buy some time hopefully, but gotta be careful not to get surrounded.
I think that Trap needs to go home, get a couple of cannons, get a couple of batteries, and try to just drag this game out a little bit longer as we have a couple of changelings on the right side. Because Scarlett is gonna max out on the armies he currently has and probably fire a big attack once Bailing Speed is ready. I wouldn't have hated the first 2 Disruptors instead of the first 2 Colossus, but I guess 2 Colossus is alright as well. This DT can just start swiping on the hatchery, by the way, because there's no Spore Crawler or Overseer nearby. But for Trap right now, it's important that he realizes that he's not going up against a Zerg that's going up to 82 drones and fires up a hive. Trap, Scarlett is still just on lair tech, no infestation pit whatsoever, nothing but units. Trap needs to go all out on the defense now, and he has nothing else to worry about.
Yeah, and he really... Okay, well, no, he's not going to try and catch any units. So he's not going to be able to catch any units, but he does fall back home to the 2 Colossus. His DT saw no drones in the 4th base, so he should have been at least kind of expecting this. But as he actually got the defense ready, some force fields do go down to temporarily block out the Bailing. Shield Battery overcharge. This actually isn't affecting many of these units. The Colossus are going to get pulled back into it, but Trap has been completely overwhelmed. There goes the Shield Battery. Nothing else as far as that defense is available. It's just the 2 Colossus trying to save the day. One of them looks to be going down. The second one soon to follow, I would expect. A third one pops out, but Trap has lost control of his army, lost control of his third, and lost control of the game and the series. Now down 100 supplies. Scarlett is going to make it out first in this group.
Yep, and that is obviously quite a surprise to start off the DreamHack Masters Winter Season Finals with. Trap did manage to get another expand up that's about to finish up, but he's never going to be able to protect it. Trap is already down 23 workers. Colossus are not the worst units ever against Roaches and Ravagers, but they're definitely not the best. You're not going to have that magical one-shot, one-volley where you can get rid of 40, 50 army supply. And Scarlett doesn't even need to do this right now. Scarlett doesn't have to go up this natural, but there is nothing stopping her.
3 Colossus being microed is very cool. The last hurrah of Trap as he also adds on a couple of Immortals, but there's only so much that War Prism Micro can do. There it is, the